Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from EVChan95. It has warnings on it of stalking, harassment, misogyny, and obsessive behavior. So if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. And it says, am I overreacting? And my husband's friend followed us to my husband's parents' house. So my husband, 30 male, has a friend, 32 male. He's known for 6 months. On the surface, this friend is polite and friendly, but over the last while, it's gotten to the point where his behavior is starting to create problems. He's a single guy that has 2 children part-time for reference. My husband and I have 2 children. He calls my husband every day, multiple times, even when we're out with our children. One time he was over at our house playing cards for what was supposed to be an hour. He decides to stay sorting his cards after we told him we're taking our kids out to play in the afternoon in the snow. My husband told me to get the girls ready while he asked his friend to please leave. His friend flat out ignored him and kept sorting his cards, and I finally got fed up and left with the kids after standing around for 15 minutes with 2 kids in hot snowsuits. 20 minutes later, his friend finally leaves but acts like we're being rude after I left, and I told my husband so. My husband blew it off and said, "Oh well, we won't have him over again then if he's going to be like that." A few weeks go by, and this guy keeps showing up in our yard after work, seeing if we felt like hanging, etc. My husband kept saying, "Oh, not tonight, man." Well, yesterday was the last straw. We were coming back to my husband's mother's place to pick up our kids after a date. We drive past his friend who's sitting on the side of the road, and he sees us and honks his horn. I joke to my husband, "Oh, now he's going to follow us now." My husband laughs and says, "He's on his way home, I'm sure." To my disbelief, he follows us back to my husband's mum's house and pulls in the driveway and starts to say, "I was going to call you, but I wanted to ask you in person about hanging out today." I slam my car door and raise my voice. "This is highly inappropriate, and we're here to pick up our kids, and you're following us around like a creep. You need to leave now." He's acted like I was the one offending him, and he said I was out of line. He told my husband he needed to reel me in before peeling out of the driveway. My husband said he agreed with me that it was weird, but I didn't have to blow up like I did. I felt like I should have ripped him a new one because his friend is acting like a stalker. Am I overreacting? Edit. Also, a few extra things. His friend has ADHD, but I also have it as well, and even though I miss social cues sometimes, I would never dream of showing up unannounced at my friend's parents' place. My husband is a sweetheart who never wants to step on toes, even though someone crosses the line, and that's something he is actively working on. He agrees with me and is talking to his friend today about his behavior and how it's unacceptable to disrespect his wife. He also apologized to me about what he said and that I had every right to be angry. I will post an update once he lets me know what happened. The husband has known this guy for 6 months and is now showing up to their evenings, their yard, their date nights, and now is on their in-laws' driveway. And the following thing, it did give me the creeps to be honest, like, following to another family's member's house, pulling up on their driveway uninvited to ask about hanging out. And when she rightly so calls it out, he tells her husband to reel her in. That phrase just by itself tells you this man's views. And I'd like to know if husband had any response to that comment at all. But one of the commenters says, "So when he told your husband he needed to reel you in, what did your husband say to him? You didn't mention him saying anything. If so, you have a bigger problem than just the creepy guy. This guy called for at minimum strong, direct words from your husband. He needs to step way up and take control of this mess, not overreacting." Opie says he didn't say anything in the moment as the friend was quick to slam his door and peeled out of the driveway. But husband is talking to him today and is going to bring that up, how upset he is to hear him disrespect his wife and hopefully put a stop to this. I have a feeling his friend won't care as he's ignored my husband before. Commenter says, "Women and their kids get killed or hurt all the time because their husbands or boyfriends allow this sort of behavior, then tell the woman she's overreacting. Your husband would rather criticize you for having an appropriate reaction than tell this guy he doesn't want to be friends and to fuck off. He also let him disrespect you. Your husband needs to tell this guy they aren't friends anymore. I don't know what's so hard about that. It's got to be better than called all the time and the constant drop-ins. Have a talk with your husband. He isn't taking the family safety seriously. He shouldn't let people disrespect you like that either. Maybe evaluate the marriage and how he views women too. He seems to care more about you coming across as rude than this guy being disrespectful to you. This guy is weird. Document all this, and if it keeps up, get the law involved. A commenter replied to that saying, this husband is weirdly weak and bizarrely submissive to this friend. Have suspicions there's more to this friendship than meets the eye. Opie says, my husband is talking to him today about his behavior. He didn't have many healthy friendships growing up, unfortunately, and he's a people pleaser, so it's hard for him to tell people when they cross the line. But he's assured me he is telling his friend he can't talk to his wife this way and how weird his behavior is. This friend acts like he's in love with my husband. At least that's the vibe I get. My husband is a very straight man and even comments on how weird his behavior is. Someone asked, does this friend live close by to OP and her husband? Opie says he lives 40 minutes away in the next town over and works in our town, so I guess he figures after work he can stop by and ask to hang. At least that's his logic. Commenter replies saying, so did he just hang around your house after work / while you two were on your date? It very much seems like he was driving around looking for you guys, especially he lives in another town. Opie replies saying, this comment right here was exactly my mindset. He was parked 5 minutes down the road from my house. I wouldn't put it past him to be driving around past our house, seeing if we're at home waiting a bit and driving past again. It scares me honestly. Commenter says, sorting cards you say? Asperger's riddled Magic the Gathering player. Behavior not that far out of the ordinary with this context. Opie says, funnily enough, it was MTG cards he was sorting. Commenter says, is the man autistic? Because not understanding social cues and normal boundaries is classic autism behavior, and sitting there sorting cards like that? Were these MTG or Pokemon cards? Does he talk about cards a lot? The main reason I'm asking about autism though is how obsessed he is with his new friend. Some autistic folks are desperately lonely. It's hard for any adult to make friends, but extra hard when the social norms for most people fly right over your head. Not overreacting. Autism is not an excuse for genuine rudeness. People with disabilities and differences should be accommodated but never allowed to be nasty out of misplaced pity. As my friend with MS, who is a disability advocate, cheerfully reminded me, an arsehole in a wheelchair would have been an arsehole if he was hoofing it. No obligation to put up with such people. Your husband needs to handle this. He's lucky you're his wife, because if someone told my spouse to reel me in, oh my, I would say many regrettable things very loudly, and might break something. OP replies saying, I'm not sure about autism, but I know he has ADHD. He was sorting MTG cards. That was how my husband and him met through a magic group. I do have friends who are on the autism spectrum, and I understand how sometimes it's hard to read social cues. I even struggle sometimes, but they would never act like this. I think he may be extremely lonely and is latching on because my husband is nice to him, but the stalking and rudeness towards me is worrying. It became extreme insanely fast. So OP came in with an update. So first off, thank you to everyone for your comments and advice. They really helped open my husband's eyes to this guy's behavior. So a big update. I was talking to my friend about how creepy this guy's behavior was, and she informed me this guy was notorious for breaking up couples who are happy together in hopes he can sleep with the women. She told me he tries to invite the guy's partner down to his place, which is 40 minutes away, so they are secluded, and then tries to make a move that way. I was so shocked I brought it up to my husband, and he mentioned how the guy had asked if I could come clean for him sometime if I wasn't doing anything. My husband had told him no way. I'd never seen his face go so pale. I showed him what you were all saying about this guy's behavior as well. He called him up on speakerphone so I could listen in, and started off with saying how it was weird he followed us and how uncomfortable he made us both feel. The guy actually laughed and said, yeah, this happens to me a lot. Not sure what everyone's problem is. My husband told him how much of a prick he was for what he said to me and how deeply upset he was, and the guy replied, so you're taking her side then? Which set my husband off, and he ripped him a new one, to put it lightly. He went into how he's ignoring our boundaries and trying to create problems. Long story short, my husband put his foot down and said if he steps on our property or tries to contact us, he's going to the cops, and he cut the guy off. We're filing a police report just to be safe because I don't trust this guy at all, and now neither does my husband. A commenter says to OP, not overreacting, how did your friend know the guy? OP says without giving too much personal info, he works at a store in my town. She was having relationship problems that have since resolved, and the guy knew because her brother worked with him. He tried multiple times to get her to come down to his place alone, or walks in the woods, and he wouldn't leave her alone when she kept telling him she wasn't interested. And he kept saying how badly her man treats her and how he would treat her better, etc. He also showed up at her work one day and refused to leave until her boss got involved, which is terrifying. Apparently this is a typical thing with him. He tries to create rifts between couples. Commodore says, I'm worried for his kids. Do you have some sort of child protection government department where you live? Opie says, yes, we do. He doesn't have custody though, and the mother has nothing to do with him, so at least the kids aren't around him. Commodore says, quoting, so you're taking her side then? And then says, honestly, I have to laugh at the sheer audacity of this guy. I think he is more important than a literal wife. Commodore replies saying, I may have missed something, but I don't see where there was any freaking side to take. He spent low-key 90% of the time insulting OP, and the master plan is to get into her pants. I'm massively confused. OP says, I'm honestly not sure what his intentions were. But dude was a creep, wouldn't take no for an answer either way. My husband told him no so many times and he flat out ignored it. Even one night he pushed past my husband to see if I was cool for him to come over. I told him no and told him to leave. That was after the last time he was over when he was sorting his cards. I told my husband he wasn't to come inside the house after that, and if he came by to talk to him in the yard, which in hindsight I shouldn't have said, and just followed my gut. The Commodore says, my eyebrows can't go any higher without disappearing into my hairline, OP. Then quoted the section about the creepy behavior trying to break up couples, and he was notorious for that. And then the commenter says, also, what self-respecting woman is going to go over to the most annoying single dad alive and clean his fucking house if they had some free time? Like, this guy may be notorious for trying to sleep with women in relationships, but for the love of God, please tell me he's not successful. What an utter and embarrassing failure with this tour. OP says, I think most of his attempts don't work because he's so annoying and pushy. Absolutely cutting off this person. I'd be doing exactly the same. The car following incident was enough in itself. Then the way he spoke to OP, and he still viewed it, even in the update, as some kind of competition by saying, you know, are you taking her side? I mean, what the bloody hell? Like the commenter said, the absolute audacity. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Adventurous Leg 879, and it says, my 26 female boyfriend, 29 male, lied about not getting a +1 to a wedding. For some basic background information, my boyfriend Jason and I have been dating for 4 years and lived together. Overall, we had a really good relationship. We love spending time together, share similar values, and have wonderful chemistry. Jason works at a fairly big company. Within the company, he works on a smallish team, about 10 people. On his team is a guy named Matt, 30-ish male, who he is work friends with. They don't hang out that much outside of work, but will occasionally get dinner or drinks together. A few weeks ago, he attended Matt's wedding. Jason didn't invite me, but I just assumed he did not get a +1 because he and Matt aren't super close. I've met Matt 5 times before, so I didn't think anything of it. Fast forward to Wednesday after work. I ran into Matt at a local coffee shop. I said hello and congratulated him on his marriage. He thanked me and said something along the lines of, it's a shame you couldn't make it to the wedding. I was pretty confused, but just went along with it and said that I was sorry I missed it and was sure it was fun. When I got home, I asked Jason why he didn't invite me to the wedding. I tried to be as calm and non-accusatory as possible. He replied that he didn't get a +1, so he couldn't invite me. Then I told him what Matt said, and after some back and forth, Jason confessed that he did get a +. I asked why he didn't invite me, and he wouldn't tell me. I kept asking, and he kept refusing. It was extremely frustrating. Don't get me wrong, I don't care that I missed the wedding, that's not the problem. He lied to me and is now refusing to tell me why. The past 2 nights, I slept in our guest and hobby room. The first place my mind went was infidelity. But he was at a colleague's wedding. I met all of his co-workers at work events, so would he really cheat on me in front of people we both know and that he has to work with? He didn't stay out late either. Got home at 10 PM, so it's not like he shacked up with someone after the wedding. I seriously cannot come up with any reason he lied and won't tell me. It's driving me crazy. I am stumped on what to do. I don't want to dump him over something this small, but I legitimately don't know what to do to get him to tell me. I feel like my trust is broken and over something so stupid. oof, the complete silence on why is really concerning because, you know, if it was an innocent reason, you'd tell her. You're embarrassed, you wanted like a lad's night or something along those lines and you thought it'd be awkward, whatever, but you'd say it, right? But the fact that he'd rather sit in this uncomfortable standoff than give her a reason means the reason is probably worse than the lie. One of the top commenters said to OP, "It's hard to pick up women at a wedding. Having your girlfriend there makes it even harder. The lying and not even telling you what he was thinking is really the problem." Healing Time Now says people cheat with coworkers all the time, but everyone knows except the poor wife. It absolutely happens. Your guy either wanted to appear single or is ashamed of you for some reason. Sorry for being blunt, but have a feeling I'm only saying what you're already thinking. No matter what, your partner did not want you there. I think you know what this means. Yeah, it absolutely does happen, and I think there's a few stories we've probably covered in the past with the same sort of situation. But 3 months later, OP comes in with an update. It says, "So it's been months since the original conflict with Jason, and I finally just yesterday got an answer about what was going on. After our initial argument, I kept living with Jason for another month. It was honestly awful. There was always this weird tension between us, and it felt like we were roommates who didn't even really like each other. We went from a happy, loving couple to people who just cohabitated awkwardly together so quickly. And he was willing to accept that just to keep some secret. It hurt so badly. After that awful month, I told him that if he didn't tell me his reason behind lying about the +1, then I was going to break up with him and move out. He begged me not to end it. I begged him to tell me. Neither of us would give up, so I ended it and moved out back into my parents' house. Since then, I've been dealing with heartbreak and have been in a really bad place mentally. I'm still currently living with my parents, even though I said I would find my own place at the start of the year. Around a week ago, I received a text from a good friend telling me she thinks she knows why he lied. She sent me a picture of Jason's Instagram. It was a picture of him holding a woman romantically. Not only that, but I recognized the woman as one of Jason's co-workers. After this, I called my friend who sent the picture and cried and cried and cried. I've never felt more emotionally exhausted. Yesterday, I did something a little dumb. I texted Jason and asked him if he cheated, and he decided to be honest this time. He told me he hadn't physically cheated, but he and this woman had basically been having an emotional affair for months prior. I guess he didn't invite me to the wedding because he didn't want his real girlfriend and his work girlfriend to meet. I finally got my answer, but I wish I hadn't. He was willing to ruin our relationship over some work relationship. I doubt he even cared that I left him considering he had a backup girlfriend to turn to. You guys were right, but I wish you weren't." One of the top commenters said to OP, "Just so you know, he physically cheated too. He's still lying because that's who he is. This sucks, but you'll be okay soon. Much better off without this jerk in your life." OP says he probably did. At this point, it doesn't even change much though. I know that it's a good thing in the long run that he's out of my life, but it feels like I wasted 4 years on him. I know I need to focus on myself and not pass my relationship, although it's hard. Then Fruitfly says, "I'm so sorry." And while the answer doesn't change much, it does give you a very clear answer that yes, you did the right thing by leaving. You didn't overreact. You weren't wrong. No, this wasn't something you could work through. You were right to leave. Now, just your feelings. You didn't waste your life. You had a relationship that was great, and when it wasn't great anymore, you left. You'll get back on track. You'll find new paths and friendships and relationships and success. Mourn the relationship. Don't beat yourself up about it, and then pick up the pieces a bit at a time. Remember that you did nothing wrong. You were strong by leaving when it wasn't working anymore. Where so many people stay unhappy, you chose to rip off the band-aid, face the pain of ending the relationship now, and that now you can build a better, happier life. OP replied finally and said, "This actually helps a lot. I guess I was just seeing the proof of him cheating as, I don't know, proof that the relationship was a waste of time or that I was being dumb and ignorant. In reality, it was a good thing that I found out in the long run. Now I won't have that dumb, what if I made a mistake, I miss him. He was the one that got away, thought process in the future. It's for sure really hard right now, especially knowing that he has moved on to his coworker while I'm alone feeling like this. I've been through breakups before, but never to a 4-year relationship. It's in some ways a new experience, this breakup. I know I will get better, but I just wish it came faster. I appreciate your input a lot. Thank you." And there were some people in the comments on the back of this one saying that the groom knew what he was doing when he said it was a shame she wasn't able to make it to the wedding. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the relationships subreddit from Throwaway Pink Lover, who says, I, 24 female, am a waitress and have a huge crush on a regular customer. I, female 24, work part-time as a waitress, trying to pay off student loans, and have a huge crush on a guy who tends to come in for breakfast or lunch a couple of times a week on the days I'm working. He's handsome, super sweet, and I'm pretty sure he's single, but I'm not 100% sure. If I had to guess, I'd say he's 25 or 27. I've gotten to know him a little bit since we sometimes talk if I'm not too busy. He said he moved here a few months ago. I'd love to ask him out, but I have no idea how, and plus, I get really nervous around him. Whenever he comes in, my manager always makes sure I get him since she knows I have a big crush on him. His bill is usually between $8 and $9, but he always pays with a 20 and tells me to keep the change. Do you think that might be a sign he likes me? My manager said she's seen him drive a really expensive sports car a couple of times, so the large tip might not mean anything. But she said she catches him looking at me quite a bit and said he never comes in when I'm not working. Considering I'm a shy person, what's the best way to ask him out without being extremely embarrassed or nervous? My hands are sweating just thinking about it. Commenter says, say, how are you enjoying City? Have you seen some landmark or attraction? Oh man, you haven't. It's my favorite. I need to take you. Give number. Another one says, I, 22 female at the time, once had a similar situation. I worked at a cafe and this guy was always coming in. He would smile and flirt with me, or at least I thought it was flirting. One day I gave him my number and just said, hi, I want you to have this. He smiled and I walked out super confident. Later that day I'd come back and the dude was still there, so I started talking to him and was like, want to go grab coffee? He then proceeds to give me a verbal smackdown saying he's not sure why I thought he was into me. I pretty much walked away from that situation crying and totally humiliated by a complete stranger. So, I'm not telling you this to completely scare you, but more to prepare you for the worst. Just remember that he is a stranger and his opinion doesn't matter. You're awesome for being you, no matter which way he reacts. Take matters into your own hands because no one will do it for you. OP says this is exactly what I'm afraid of. He's super sweet, so I don't think he'd reject me in a bad way, but you never know. One morning I had a really grumpy old man give me a ton of shit for no reason, and when I walked away, I saw him talking to the old man. When I came back, the old man was suddenly very nice to me. I don't know what he said to the guy, but he obviously stuck up for me. Anyway, that just kind of gives you an idea of what type of guy he is. I appreciate your comment. I'll try to be confident, and if things don't work out, I won't let it bring me down. Commenter says, what about asking him what he's up to on your day off or on a weekend? It should be relatively easy to slip into a conversation, and if he says he's not doing anything, you could say, well, that day off is my day off, and I was thinking of doing the name or restaurant and bar. Would you be interested in going with me? And if he says yes, exchange numbers. This will help communicate to him that you're interested, so if he is, he can feel more confident about approaching you romantically in the future. OP responded saying that's such a great idea. I actually have this Friday off, and he comes in every Friday morning at the same exact time to eat breakfast. It'd be super easy to just show up for breakfast at the same time and sit in or near the spot he always sits. I literally have nothing planned on Friday, so this could work. My manager keeps bugging me and asking me when I'm going to make a move. I'll have to fill in her tomorrow and let her know my possible plan. Thank you so much. So OP comes in a week later and says, I have good news. As I mentioned in my original post, I normally work Friday mornings and he comes in for breakfast at the same time every Friday. Well, I had the day off and decided to show up for breakfast at the same time as him. It worked out perfectly. I sat down in the area where he always sits and waited. About 10 minutes later, he walked in the door and saw me sitting down ordering breakfast. He came up to me and looked a little puzzled because I wasn't wearing my uniform. He asked if I had the day off and I said yes. He said, that sucks. You're my favorite waitress. I also did my hair and put on some cute clothes that morning, and he noticed because he complimented me and said that I looked really pretty. I could feel my face getting hot. I probably turned 10 shades of red, lol. Next thing I know, he asked if he could sit at my table with me. I was so nervous. Guys never give me butterflies, but he gives me them all the time. But I acted totally normal and tried not to be a dork. Normally, I'm very shy around him, but he made me feel comfortable and was super easy to talk to. We sat and talked for a while before our breakfast came. It was so much fun. My manager was the one waiting on us, which she never does, but she's been encouraging me to make a move on him for quite a while. She was so happy for me. Anyway, I felt he was giving me signals the entire time, which made me a lot more confident. So I finally worked up the courage and asked if he'd like to hang out sometime, and he agreed. We swapped numbers and he's been texting and flirting with me a few times a day ever since. Since we've been texting, I've learned that we both enjoy hiking, so I suggested that we go hiking and check out an old lighthouse, which is not too far from where we live. He just moved here, so he's never seen it before. We live on the Great Lakes, North Michigan. So that's what we're planning on doing this weekend. When we were texting last night, he mentioned that he'd like to go to this fall festival, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, and wanted to know if I'd go with him. So I playfully said, "Are you asking me out on a date?" And he said, "Yes. Will you please go with me?" I'm so excited. Thank you for your help on my original post. You guys gave me a ton of great advice, and I can't believe how easy this whole thing was. Now I see what men have to go through when it comes to asking women out. Anyway, thank you, Reddit. And it was 2 months later that OP came in with their final update that said, "It's been a couple of months since my last post, so I think you all deserve a happy update. First of all, thank you, Reddit, and I sincerely mean that. I was just a shy girl with a crush on a handsome stranger, and to think that he's now my boyfriend is just nuts. I can't even describe how happy I am. 2 months ago, I left off by mentioning that I was going to take him on a date and show him the area a little bit since he just moved here. I talked about how we both love hiking, so I planned to take him to this lighthouse, which is only a short drive from where we live. I was afraid it was going to rain, but it turned out to be the perfect day. We packed a little picnic and spent an afternoon hiking. I thought it was so romantic and we had a great time. Over the next couple of weeks, we continued to see each other and go on fun dates. I wanted to take things to the next level so bad, but I wanted to make sure he felt the same way about me. After a couple of weeks of dating, we're hanging out at his place one night, cuddling and watching a movie, and that's when he finally asked me if we could be exclusive. It was the best night. So we've been in an exclusive relationship for a couple of months now, but I feel like I've known him forever. We just click. Anyway, he has a huge family and they had Thanksgiving last weekend, which I was invited to. He begged me to come. I'm a shy person, so I was a little nervous, but they made me feel so welcome. His mother's a total sweetheart and his dad is hilarious. When we were leaving, I gave his parents hugs and his mum says to me, "You know, he talks about you all the time. He's like madly in love with you." My boyfriend was so embarrassed. I've never seen him go so red. I invited him to my family's Thanksgiving as well, and my family loved him, which was a huge relief because my dad hasn't liked any of my past boyfriends. But he immediately took a liking to him and had to show him around his shop because they're both into cars. It was so nice to finally bring a guy home that dad approves of. And of course, my mum and aunts thought he was a hunk. Hunk. Hadn't heard that in ages. Talk about awkward. Anyway, I just figured I'd let you know the date went well and we're finally a couple. Thanks for all your help a couple of months ago when I wanted to ask him out. You guys really encouraged me, so thank you. Aw, that's bloody sweet, isn't it? And I think that is where we should finish this video, right, on a high note. Let's not go to another one because we never know what we're going to get next. But what do you guys make of this situation? You ever found yourself in one of those situations where, you know, you want to ask someone out but you're too nervous to? How did you go about it, etc.? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.